So right before the official launch for XDefiant, I actually did an initial weapon tier list for the game, sort of leading right into the pre-season. And in that video, I did say that I'd be sort of revisiting this every single season. So now that we are more than a week into season 1, I am going to be revisiting the XDefiant weapon tier list, which these are always good fun to do. I think often I have very different tastes than a lot of people, so this is probably going to be full of a lot of terrible hot takes, and if it is, feel free to roast me down in the comment section. But without wasting any time, we are going to jump right into it. Now, I've actually gone and made this one myself because the previous one didn't have all of the weapons and stuff, and I've actually obviously added the season 1 weapons in here too. So as you can see, we've got a sidearms list here. I'm just going to get the sidearms out of the way just because they're kind of boring, and then that will leave us with the rest of them. So I haven't really used the sword off, but I'm actually going to guess this is fairly decent compared to a lot of these pistols just because it's a freaking shotgun. So what I would probably say is I think that the Deagle is number 1. I then think the M9 is probably second behind that. Actually, no, probably the 93. Then the M9. Then I probably, without even having used it, would actually put the sawed-off shotgun. Then I would probably put the M1911 and the Magnum. They're kind of interchangeable, and realistically all of these are pretty damn similar. So I think that's how I'm going to base it right now, and I know that's a wild thing to say. I have not even used this and I'm placing it above other weapons. That is purely just basing it off the fact it's a shotgun. So if you're running this with like a sniper, if someone pushes you and you've got a freaking shotgun, I know from previous games that that is a very deadly combo, but again, that could be a very hot take. For those of you who have used it, feel free to let me know if that's massively wrong, but that's just kind of a guess, seeing as obviously I think it's unlocked at like level 80 in the freaking battle pass, which is, it's going to take me till the end of the season to even use it once, but I thought I'd put it there for now, and that I would say is my list for the sidearms. Now, for the rest of the weapons, I usually just kind of go from top to bottom, but I'm going to do it in alphabetical order to make it a little bit harder, because it's sometimes a bit too easy if you just go from best to worst. So AA12, I'm going to straight up put that bitch in the useless tier. I just think that gun is absolutely terrible, and there's really not that much else to say. Granted, I'm terrible with shotguns, so maybe it's actually just me. For the ACR, this definitely goes in the meta tier. For me personally, it is my own best gun. That doesn't necessarily mean it is the best gun in the game, but I would definitely have it top 3, and so that one absolutely goes up in the meta tier, and then that is also followed by the AK-47, probably in that order, but I think realistically it's pretty interchangeable. I think the ACR kind of suits me a bit better, but I think also in the right hand the AK-47 is probably better because it deals a little bit more damage. So yeah, they're about even, but for me I would have the ACR above it. Now the double barrel shotgun, even though I put the AA-12 in useless, I'm going to put this C for now, but it will end up at the very end of C, I'd imagine. It's bordering on useless, but I do think weirdly it's actually better than the other shotguns, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt for now, and I'll put that in the C tier, although like I said, I'm absolutely atrocious with shotguns. Now we've then got the new sniper, the L115. I will be honest, I haven't unlocked it yet, so again, I can't judge it too much, but I have used it. I've seen people in lobbies with it, and I've sort of killed them and picked it up, and this thing is really good. And I did have the TAC 50 very high in the previous tier list, so for now I'm going to put this meta tier, but it'll probably move down. I just need to sort of see where it's going to go. Actually, for now I'll put it in A tier, but depending on where I feel the TAC 50 goes, I think the L115 will probably go above the TAC 50 just because the ADS speed is actually quicker. It felt really good to me the times that I've used it, so even though I don't have it unlocked, I think I can actually judge that one properly, and yeah, that is a very, very viable sniper. Now we've then got the LVOA-C, which is the new AR as well. I'm kind of torn. I don't... it's probably just A tier. B tier feels a little bit too low. It's pretty damn good. It just at range isn't quite as good, so I'm going to leave it there for now, but again at the end I'll sort of go through and shuffle all this. It's definitely not meta tier, that's for sure, but it is also very good, so B tier feels a little bit too low for it. We then have the M16, which I'm also going to place in meta tier. I feel like that gun's kind of slept on a little bit. I see people rating it highly, but I don't see it that often in game, so I don't know if that's just me or what, but I do, like I said, I do see a lot of people really rating it highly, so it can't just be me that rates it, but I very rarely die to it in game, so it feels like no one's actually making the most of it. Now, just quickly for those interested in making the weapon grind a little bit easier in XDefiant, MitchCactus.com has you covered, as they will actually grind weapon levels, attachments, and skins for you while you're out at work or at school. They have well over 10,000 verified Trustpilot reviews. All of their packages are completely safe and legitimate. They also have 24/7 customer support and even a 100% money back guarantee. Head on over to MitchCactus.com using the link in the description and use code SAMMY for 5% off for a limited time only. Now, we then have the M249, which, speaking of being slept on, I think is A tier. I think this gun is absolutely elite, and I don't know why more people don't use it. It's probably not quite as good as the LVOAC, but it is very, very close. So I'm going to leave it A tier for now. It may eventually go B tier, but it does feel better than that as well. There's a few weapons I can, I feel are going to be B tier, and it feels better than those. So I'll leave that there for now, but we'll have to wait and see where it ends up. The M44, that probably goes B tier, mostly just because of the hit markers, because realistically, it's actually, if you're hitting shots in the right spot, it's probably better than the L115 because it's got a faster ADS speed. It does just, it's a little bit more inconsistent, I guess, than that and the TAC 50. So I'll leave that B tier for now. It's still very good, but it's kind of just unreliable. And considering the other two snipers are still very good, it almost borderline could go useless, because if you're going to snipe, you may as well use the other two, but it is better than that. So I'll leave it in the B tier for now. Still a very fun weapon, but yeah, just a lot less reliable than the other two, which if you're sniping, you kind of want something reliable. You've got one shot to make it work. If you get a hit marker, most of the time you're going to die. So not the biggest fan of the M44, but it is still fun to use. Now we've then got the M4, which this is a tough one. I think that also goes B tier, probably above the M44. I don't know, it could be A tier, but I tend to struggle using it. I don't know why. It just feels a bit weaker than all of the other assault rifles. You can see all the other ones I've got in the meta tier, so it just feels kind of a lot weaker than them, even though realistically it probably is here. But I'm going to put a B tier for now. It does feel worse to me than the LVOAC. So yeah, B tier feels a little bit wrong, but also kind of right at the same time. We then have the M60, which I think is also going to go B tier, probably just below the M4, but pretty close, I feel, between those two. Haven't used the M60 that much, to be fair, but it feels around the same sort of level as the M4. We then have the M870, and that bad boy is going in the useless tier as well. It's below, for me, it's probably the worst in the game. I think the AA12, at least, it's automatic. You can kind of spam it. The M870, I don't know. I just absolutely suck with shotguns. So as you can see, they're all pretty damn low on my list. Now we then have the MDR, and this is either going to go low B tier or probably C tier, actually. I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of the MDR. It just feels like a shit SMG, personally. It just doesn't feel like an assault rifle. It doesn't really feel like an SMG either. I think because it is technically like a hybrid, it just does both things kind of poorly, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of feels weak to me. It is pretty fun to use. I like that it's like an AR, but it's, the mobility is a little bit faster and stuff like that. So I don't hate it, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel that good whenever I use it. So I think C tier for now. We'll shuffle around at the end, like I said, but I dare say that will probably stay in C tier. Now the MK20, I think, goes A tier. This thing's an absolute beast, and realistically it's probably pretty much the same with the SVD. If you hit your shots with this thing, it's actually kind of cracked. And to be completely honest, on long range maps, I'd borderline put it as meta tier. I'm not gonna, because there are a lot of, using one of these on arena, you're probably not gonna do that well. But yeah, on those, say a map like Mayday or something, that thing actually slaps. So I think it's a little bit underrated, but again, I don't think it's quite meta tier. So A tier sounds pretty fair to me. Could potentially go above the M2. Yeah, I'm going to put it above the M249, but it's pretty damn close between those two. Now we then have the MP5. I'm going to put this B tier, but just, I'm not going to lie, I just think it kind of sucks, which I hate to see, because MP5 is like one of the most classic guns in any shooter. And I always love running the MP5, but it just kind of feels irrelevant in this game. I honestly don't think I've ever died to the MP5 in my whole life. I feel like no one ever uses it, but yeah, putting it C tier is a bit low. I do think it's better than the MDR because it is an SMG. That is just kind of the hybrid, like I said, that just doesn't really do anything good. So I think it's better than the MDR, but it's pretty damn close. It's bordering on going on C tier, but I'll leave it in B for now. We then have the MP7, which I don't know, it's either second or third. I'm really not sure. I'm gonna put it second, I think. At least for me, anyway, it's second. I would, if someone said it went that way, I wouldn't argue it, but I think for me, second place is deserved just because it is so dominant up close. And realistically, I think this is pretty much the meta tier sorted out. So second for me, but realistically between all of these, maybe not the M16, but between these top three, realistically, it's like 0.1% difference. They're all pretty damn overpowered. I actually think they probably need the slightest nerf, all of them, but that being said, they're very fun to use as well. Now we then have the P90, which I'm gonna put in A tier, and I'm probably, I don't know, it works its way up. I'm gonna put it above the LVOAC. I think the ammo really helps it out because you don't need an extended mag and anything like that. So having 50 rounds in a magazine is pretty freaking useful, considering every other weapon kind of needs their best attachment to even reach that. So I think it goes A tier for me and pretty damn high up as well. Now we then have the RPK, which I'm gonna put C tier, I think. In fairness, I've not really used the RPK, so it's probably hard to judge, but I just feel like compared to the, you know, all the assault rifles and then especially the LMGs in its own class, I just feel like the M60 is definitely better. M249 is definitely better. And then, yeah, all the other assault rifles and stuff are better than them. So C tier feels right to me, but that could be a hot take. I'm not really too sure. Now we then have the SVD, which I kind of just have to put with the MK20 because I feel like they're just both pretty much the same. I've seen a lot of people say that they would actually put it above. I haven't used it enough to know, but I definitely know the MK20 is a beast. So I'm going to just put it there for now, but they're realistically pretty interchangeable. We then have the TAC 50, and this could nearly go meta tier. I'm going to put it here pretty much even with the L115. With some more playtime, that could easily go there, but I'm not confident enough to say, even though I've used it a bit. Without it unlocked, I feel like putting it meta tier is a bit hasty of me. So I'm going to leave that there. These two are essentially identical, really, so I feel like that makes sense. But I think because of the faster ADS speed, I think that could eventually make it to meta tier, just because, yeah, sniping in this game is pretty damn powerful. So I think that makes sense for those two. And then as for the Vector, I'm probably going to put that just below the LVOA. I don't know, it kind of feels like it needs to go above it, actually. I mean, it could also go there. It's pretty freaking good. I'm going to put it below the P90 just because the P90 kind of suits my playstyle a little bit better. I hate running out of freaking ammo with the Vector. That's my biggest complaint with it. So I'm going to put it there for now. Definitely feels just a bit better than the LVOAC. And like, this is pretty tight in here. That could borderline go there. So yeah, it's getting pretty congested in this area. I think I'll actually do that. I think the LVOAC goes behind the two marksman rifles, but only just. Like it is pretty bloody close between them. So that all feels pretty right, I think. This tier feels pretty right as well, and then yeah, probably the same. So I'm actually pretty happy with that overall. As I said, there's always going to be some wild takes that I don't understand are wild until people call them out. So feel free to leave your comments down below and let me know how terribly wrong I am. And yeah, if you guys disagree, feel free to leave your own tier list down in the comment section as well. But as for the beginning of season 1, this is my season 1 weapon tier list. But that is going to do it for another video, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all out there in the arena.